So now we can move into Central, and Central is the home of you and the region that I've seen the most this year, uh, coming most of the time from Athens, Ohio. So let's start in Central 1. Top side of the district, Hilliard Bradley and Westerville South are your heavy hitters. And then in the bottom, your boys at Pick Central, and
Yeah.
then also Olentangy and St. Charles. A little interesting to me that St. Charles seeded 16th. I think that's a team that's more talented than the seed they got. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, you look at like, I mean, if you're going to classify top teams in the entire region, Gahanna is probably right there near the top, and St. Charles was right there with them in the game that they played. Doogie James is a very good player for them, and then the big baby down in the paint, Chase. So yeah, I'm with you. And you look at St. Charles like and you throw in Whiteside. If he's, I don't know, is he back?
Yes, he is
Okay.
back. It took him, he didn't play until I believe the second semester.
Yeah. So you
So,
look at them and you're like, okay, you lose your coach, who stepped down, before the season, in the off season. You lose, you know, your your best uh, scorer, transfers to Hilliard Davidson. And I think they've done a fantastic job with this. I mean, and another guy that, it was all kind of setting up for him. They had uh, the freshman, the freshman this year that ended up going back to Mobley. John Mobley ends up going back to Reynoldsburg, and now he's out at Bishop Gorman. So they would have had him there this year as well. So what could have been for St. Charles, but they've done a great job, and I think they're going to be a very tough out down that bottom half of that bracket.
yeah, I agree with you. I saw St. Charles without Whiteside against Worthington Kilbourne, and they were up big early before blowing a lead late. So that's going to be a tough potential matchup for Pick Central in the district semifinals. And then um, Westerville South, I feel like with the way they play, they could be a team that could surprise Hilliard Bradley just
Mm-hmm.
because of how much shooting they have. I think if you're going to beat Hilliard Bradley, and if you're not like one of those other top teams, your best bet to beat Hilliard Bradley is to shoot 60% from three. And that's not a great bet to make, but I would rather make that bet as Westerville South than maybe some other teams seated between like 11 and 16. So, I don't think it's going to happen. But if Jaden Geist and Dre Carter are unconscious from three, that would be the sort of effort it would take down Hilliard Bradley before the district title game. But let's assume the top seeds make it out. How do you think your Pickerington Central Tigers match up with Hilliard Bradley?
Yeah, the thing that's tough about playing Bradley is just like playing like a Moeller is they don't let you do what you want to do. So whatever it is that you do best, and obviously in Central's cases, they're best when they can get out a little bit and transition and use their length, use their athleticism. And Bradley makes it really tough on you to do those type of things. A lot of times they use their offense as a defense. They really make you grind it out defensively. They make you sit down. They make it really tough for you on offense with that pack line defense that they play. They get great guard play. And, in 2018, when Central definitely it was an upset, beat them in the regional final, when they had that great team with Braden Norris and Spielman and those guys. Everything had to go right that day, making shots, holding Bradley to one and done, forcing him into tough shots. And they did that. And I think Central can do that with their length. It's been an up and down year for them. They're hot right now, but they would be the first to tell you, the OCC Buckeye is not extremely strong. So You look at the win streak that they're on right now. Um, it's hard to find a great win in that group. They've beat Newark twice this year. Garner Wallace was out for a time. Thiem's been out the whole year. Deshaun Evans is another kid that they were going to play a lot, has been out, but Mekhi Alexander has really kind of emerged for them. Pretty athletic, big, strong kid. I think that would be a very contrast in styles, but ultimately it would have to come down to Central would have to make shots in that game because they limit you. It's usually one and done.
Yeah, that's Bradley's like sort of MO. The one thing about Bradley is that they've started two freshmen all season,
Mm-hmm.
and freshmen they're more experienced come tournament time because they've played a whole regular season, but also they're still freshmen in the tournament. So
Yeah.
how much are you going to be able to count on freshmen to lead you? Because outside of Mergon and Keaton Norris, those two are their next top scorers. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I think Bradley, it was a huge blow to Bradley when Tayshawn Mayfield went down in football. And then you look at a kid that they could have out there this year in Jack Pugh, that hasn't played the last couple years. I mean, and he could arguably be their best player. I mean, he's an extremely talented basketball player, especially at the high school level. So you put Mayfield and Pugh on this team, and boy, Bradley would be right up there with anybody in the state as favorites to win it. Just and throw in the way they play and how well they're coached with Norris and Alako. I mean, that 1-2 punch on that bench is as good as anybody in the coaching business.
Yeah, Tayshawn is one of my favorite players in the state to watch, and just a great sort of pairing him with Hilliard Bradley's style. So very disappointed that I didn't get to see him this year. We'll move over to the second Central District, where Westerville Central is up top, and on their side you have Whitehall and Licking Heights, and then at the bottom, Pickerington North and Olentangy Orange are the main teams. Let's start up top. Whitehall versus and also I forgot to mention because they are seated 25th. Hilliard Davidson
Yeah.
going to Licking Heights. I think the coaches did a decent job seating the teams this year, but there is no planet that Hilliard Davidson is worse than 24 teams in the Central District. No way, no how.
Yeah, that's interesting because when I was looking at the brackets, I thought that this district had the most depth to it. When you look at Westerville Central, you look at Whitehall, Licking Heights has been on a tear of late. Davidson, Pick North, Olentangy Orange, I can't count them out for sure. This district is very deep. Um, and I'm a little bit. It's interesting because um, I'm a big fan of Westerville Central. I love their coach. He did a great job at Johnstown. Obviously, he's going to have more talent year in and year out at Westerville Central. Obviously, a bigger school district. When you look at Tasos Cook, you look at Tillman, Hunter, and Clark. I mean, those four guys are all capable of hitting doubles every single night. To me, I know they've lost a game here and there, but I'll tell you what, this district is tough. But if anybody can get out of there with the tough guards that they have in Cook and Tillman and Clark, it's Central.
And we recently talked about how St. Charles, maybe they were a little underseeded. They play in a conference that doesn't have any other Division One schools.
Right.
And then you look at Licking Heights, they are either the only or one of only maybe two Division One schools from the Licking County League.
Right.
So that's going to be interesting. They did have a big win over Heath, but I've seen Hilliard Davidson play twice this year. And I've also seen Whitehall. I was impressed with Whitehall, but I could very easily see Hilliard Davidson going to Licking Heights and then going to Whitehall and winning both of those games to set up a battle with Westerville Central. And then you look at the bottom. I've caught Olentangy Orange twice at home, 2 losses to Hilliard Davidson, Thomas Worthington. And I feel like they kind of struggle with superior athletes. And that's not Pickerington North this year. Pickerington North, they're led by really good guard play, Casey George and Jerry Saunders. But neither one of those kids are going to be putting you on a poster dunk. So I actually think that despite Pickerington North having the best 24-hour stretch out of any team all season,
Yes.
when they beat Hilliard, Bradley, and Westerville Central back-to-back games, I don't think they match up great with Olentangy Orange. But if Pickerington North can avoid that upset, they're playing a team they know they can beat. And that's a huge advantage if you are an underdog. Because if Pick North gets there, they're going to walk into Westerville Central's gym and they know that they can beat them. Because I was there the game that they lost, and that went right down to the buzzer as well. So I think that if I was Westerville Central and I made it to a district final game, I'd be rooting for Olentangy Orange to pull that upset because I would not like to see Coach Bates and the Panthers across from me to try and make it to the regional tournament.
Yeah, Coach Bates has to be applauded for the job that he's done. His whole time at North, but just especially over the last couple of years. Last year, no Jack Sawyer, and you have another great season with Shedenhelm, who's tearing it up at Ashland right now, which is not surprising.
Yep.
I mean, you had to figure once he was able to get into an offense where he was not going to be double teamed all the time and have to run around like a maniac to get shots and then guard the other team's best guy at the other end, that it was going to work out pretty well for him in college. But this team, like you said, it is guard dominant with Casey George, who's been around for like 50 years. Jerry Saunders is a very talented junior. Corey Hudson, Dior Connor. So it's a very guard-heavy team. You do have the big fella, Elijah Hawk, that'll get in there and bang a little bit. Orange, if they have an advantage, is probably it's Jason Foster's probably a tough matchup for North. Andre Irvin would have to be really good in that game if that game is to happen. I'm with you on Licking Heights. You mentioned Licking Heights. I know they're up at the top, but it's a big step up from the Licking County League to Division I.
We saw with Logan a couple years ago.
It just is. It's not anything against Licking Heights. It's just this is your league. These are the teams you play, and then you play a team that's 8-14.
Well, look at Hilliard Davidson's.
Yeah,
they're playing Olentangy Olentangy Orange, Upper Arlington, Dublin Kaufman, Hilliard Bradley, and I think I'm missing one last team. But that every single night, that's college talent, upperclassmen talent. Like every single one of those teams has juniors or seniors that are scholarship level kids. The whole league. It's crazy.
And Coach Fountain has done a great job at Licking Heights. Don't get me wrong. It's just it's tough because when you look at teams that play in mainly Division II or Division III conference, you're just you're just set up to not be able to succeed. Division I is just another animal. But yeah, I'm with you. I would look forward to that Pickerington North Orange game. Anthony Kalo, who is the son of Ed Kalo at Westerville South, he's one of the great young coaches, not only in Central Ohio, but I think anywhere in the state. And he's very good, especially in a one-game scenario in the tournament. So look out for that. But, man, I'm high on this Westerville Central team. I think they have all the pieces.
Yeah, Olentangy Orange, wasn't it 2-3 years ago where they took down second seeded Dublin Kaufman maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see what he can maybe do as an encore. But we move into Central 3, and this is the Gahanna District. Top side of the Gahanna District, really headlined by just Gahanna and Northland. And then at the bottom, you have Dublin Kaufman and Reynoldsburg as the 10 seed. I thought that was a lot of respect given to Reynoldsburg. There's only one seed difference between Dublin Kaufman and Reynoldsburg. And while I haven't seen Reynoldsburg this year, just based on what I know about Dublin Kaufman and the results that Reynoldsburg has had this year, I'd be very surprised if it wasn't Dublin Kaufman in making it to the district title game. What do you think about that opinion?
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised there. Reynoldsburg did get a lot of respect on that seed. Coach Andy Moore in his first year there with the Berg. Um, you know, they're solid. Don't get me wrong. Kaufman I think has a lot of much better wins when you look at their resume. AJ Sheldon's had a really really good year for Kaufman, but Gahanna, up here, uh, unless they do something crazy, I just feel like they're going to be a very difficult out, not only in this district, but anywhere in this tournament when you have a guy like Sean Jones and then the pieces that they have around him, especially the upperclassmen that they have, and then the emerging big fella in Simmons there in the junior class. Uh, I just think this Gahanna team is, along with Westerville Central, and we'll talk about Thomas Worthington coming up. But to me, there's a lot of really good teams in Central Ohio.
Yeah, Gahanna straight up, I think, has the best big duo in the state with Maceo Williams and Javen Simmons. Um, Northland, I don't want to really count them out, but they would most likely be playing Gahanna in a district semifinal, and that's going to be really tough for Northland. But maybe Northland's not the Columbus City team that makes a deep run. But how do you think maybe your Beechcrofts, your Lyndon McKinleys, or your Afrocentrics, and we can throw Northland in here as well because we're talking about them. How do you think they're going to handle such a late start as well? And most of them have played hardly any non-city league schools this year, even.
Yeah, I think Beechcroft is going to be fine. You have an alpha male like Lyles, and you're going to be fine. I think they're going to be a heavy hitter in the D2 tournament. I think Afrocentric with their guard play, Eli Burke, he's a tough guard. I believe Afrocentric's in Division 3.
Yes.
So yeah, they're going to be a tough out in Division 3. Now, if you're in Division 1, getting a start like that, and it might be a little bit more difficult, but I think Beechcroft's going to be okay in Division 2, and I think Afrocentric's going to be all right in Division 3. I think those teams are going to make some noise, and don't discount a team like Columbus South. The winning pedigree that they have over the last 4 or 5 years. In the D2
They pushed
tournament.
Afrocentric to the buzzer last night.
Yeah.
All right, well, we can move on to Central 4, and Olentangy Liberty is up top. They're the 5 seed. Worthington Kilbourne is the 8 seed. They're also up top with Olentangy Liberty. And also you got Upper Arlington and Walnut Ridge. Those 4 teams for only one half of a district. That's not bad. And then we go to the bottom. It's Thomas Worthington, Newark, and Marysville. Um, I kind of like Marysville more than maybe some people. When you have 2 seniors like Jack Christian and Garrett Taylor, who have, been through the ringer. They've played a lot of varsity basketball together, both very uh, high priority Division III college prospects. Um, I just think that Marysville is a team that could make a run. Beating Newark in the playoffs is never going to be easy, but and that's going to be a far trip for them.
Mhm.
That's a long ways away, going from Marysville to Newark, but I think that the Monarchs could pull off that upset. Um, but I do think that it's most likely going to be Thomas versus Olentangy Liberty. I don't think anybody else really can match up with them.
Yeah, this this you mentioned Marysville, Newark. You know, I feel like I've been watching the sport long enough to know that it's like Newark just seems like they find a way to show up in the district semis, district finals. Quackenbush is one of the best in the state. They've had some injuries. I think they've had some COVID issues. So it's been a tumultuous year for uh, the Wildcats. But I'll tell you what, I'm high on Thomas Worthington. You know that, but you don't want to look across the court and the team you have to beat is Newark because they're just so painful to play against. And they have so many, every time I just think of Newark, I think, okay, somebody's going to be taking a charge. A mouthpiece is going to be hanging out that they're going to be chewing on. And they're just going to make it very, very tough on you because they have tough kids. And they have some talented kids, it's not like they're without talent, but yeah, I just think that they're always a tough out. And I would be surprised if they aren't playing Thomas Worthington. And, a team I want to kind of give a shout out to is Worthington Kilbourne. Man, they've had football team had a couple of playoff wins, and some of those guys have doubled up onto the hardwood, and they've had a good season on the hardwood as well. Especially for a place like Worthington, Kilbourne is not known for big time basketball teams or talent. They had some good teams with Tom Sauter, but yeah, shout out to Kilbourne. They've had a great athletic season so far this year.
Yeah, no doubt. I mentioned this a little earlier. I was at the Kilbourne versus St. Charles game, and Ian Shupp really straight up refused to lose. They got a couple other seniors that play a lot in Aiden Parsons. They're likely going to play Upper Arlington in a district quarterfinal game. In Upper Arlington, they start 5 juniors. So maybe Upper Arlington makes a run this year, and maybe that's a sign of things to come. I'm very high on Nick Heath, junior wing who can really shoot it. Solid athlete. He's a kid who I don't think gets enough praise in Central Ohio. So I think that Upper Arlington, Worthington Kilbourne has had a great season, and they've found a way to win a bunch of close games. Um, but Upper Arlington's battle tested, and eventually you're going to lose those real close games once. So I would not be stunned if Upper Arlington could pull that upset. And then you look at Olentangy Liberty. I was fairly surprised that they joined Thomas Worthington, because wasn't it last year that Worthington really crushed them in the playoffs last year? Or am I misremembering that?
Yeah, I think you're right. Was it in the semi
Yeah, it was in the district semis to set up the
north
um, North versus Thomas
north
Worthington
versus
game.
Thomas Worthington?
Yeah, so little interesting to go back to that well if you're Greg Nossman. But that's a team that Cooper Davis, that's the new piece. So maybe he thinks that he's the difference against Thomas Worthington. Henry Hinkle, Andrew Wade, those are two seniors who have won a lot of games, have a lot of experience. So we'll see what Olentangy Liberty can do, but there's not many teams in the state playing as well as Thomas Worthington is. I recently saw them really take it to Olentangy Orange, a very formidable opponent. Their coach gave a big shout out to, I think his name's Cam Beatty. He is a guard who doesn't score all that much, but he is a really great defender. He, I think, was hurt at the start of the year. As you know, Thomas Worthington started off like 1-4, 2-4, and they've really turned it around. And he credited a lot of their success to Beatty coming back and just making them a tougher ball club. Doesn't score a lot. He'll let Jalen Solinger and Tyrese Huey do that. Um, but he does typically defend the best guard on the other team. So that'll be interesting. Maybe district title game guarding Henry Hinkle. And then once you get to the regionals, you're probably going to play a good guard if you're winning a district in this Columbus region. But we
Yeah.
can move on. Did you have anything else?
Yeah, the thing I like about Thomas Worthington is, in the tournament, if you plan on playing, into March and into mid-March, late March, you have to have a guy late in the game that's a bucket getter. Because when it gets tough, all right, when the team you're playing against is not letting you, do what you want to do, and it gets tough, you have to have a guy that can just go get you a bucket when you need it. And Jalen Solinger is that guy. I remember in the district final last year against North,
He had a great stretch to end that game.
Yeah, he's got a 2-second memory, because I remember him making, either, I can't remember if he had a turnover or a bad shot, but then he hits a floater there towards the end, and he's just
Takes a charge, I think, too.
Yeah, he's a big game player. He's a big shot maker, and he's a guy that, hey, we need you to get 30 tonight to win. We need 30 from you, and he can do it. He's that type of guy. It's in the blood. It's the pedigree, the Solinger pedigree. It's just the attitude that they carry, and that's why I'm high on Thomas Worthington. And I've told you this. I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the Final Four.